Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the off-season podcast here on the GT Rain YouTube channel or on a podcasting platform if that's how you're listening. This is it, man. Stu, we are in the off-season now officially, but not really, because we have a whole race to recap today, and we have IMSA testing at Daytona to recap, and we have WEC rookie testing at Bahrain to recap, and then we have racing in a 24-hour race in like 2 months. So not really much of a long off season going on here. I don't know what else is going on tonight. It looks like I got punched here on the lower chin. Let's just say that you and I had a fist fight before this episode about BOP. Yeah, totally. And I guess that'll be the most exciting outcome I can think of here. Anyways, how about you? What's going on in your world? Last episode, you were off to a sunnier place, hopefully. Hoping things went well there.
That is true. I kind of forgot about that. It's been about a week. It's been a week since I got home, and when we got off the plane, there was snow on the ground. So wasn't there when we left. Since then, though, got a slightly different setup trying out tonight. So hopefully everything holds up fine. But yeah, otherwise it's been a week full of mostly getting caught up on what happened in Bahrain. Don't ask me too many questions on on that, but there's been a lot that's happened as well. It hasn't just been Bahrain, of course. We've had the IMSA sanction test that has been going on for the last few days. There's been plenty of interesting tidbits of information to come out of that. I think there's certainly plenty for us to talk about, despite this being really the first official totally off-season episode that we have.
Yeah, nothing's too official here, including the day that we do this podcast, because True. As you know, we were Thursday for a while. We're trying to switch to Tuesdays for the off-season here because you're busy. If you're keen-minded and you're listening to this live, it's Sunday night right now, depending on where you are. Reason for that is you went to somewhere sunny and warm, probably. I am not. I'm going to what's probably going to be cold, but nonetheless exciting Las Vegas in Tuesday morning to go over for the F1 Grand Prix. Sort of a last-minute thing. Schedule up with friends to do that. I've never seen F1 cars on track, though. So that should be a lot of fun to see a category of racing that I haven't seen before. I'll always kick myself for missing the prime LMP1 hybrid days, not being able to see those cars at Lamar Sebring when they were on track. So I really wanted to make a point to see F1 cars on track before they slow down a little bit next season. And Vegas just seemed like a good place to do it. So I'll be out there for that.
Do you know what other support series are going to be there too?
F1 Academy is going to be there.
It's just F1 Academy. Eh? That's
yep. No Ferrari Challenge like last year.
Ferrari Challenge is going to be there. Is that what you said?
Not this year. No, they were there last year, not this year.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I'm disappointed for you. You don't get to see the gloriousness that is the Ferrari Challenge ripping around Las Vegas.
Were they at? I almost said Canadian Tire at Montreal.
They were a few years ago, but they have since replaced them with some other. Not that it's not a respectable racing series, but I would much prefer to watch the Porsche Carrera Cup to the Ferrari Challenge. There is a very bright future ahead of many of those Porsche drivers. Actually, I think we actually talked. Did we talk about that last time, or maybe it was with Aaron? But some good names to come out of Porsche Carrera Cup, but Ferrari Challenge is slightly different story. Anyways, though, let's not go on the Ferrari Challenge too much, I suppose.
I guess that's fair. Instead, let's talk about WEC Bahrain. And by the way, I'm trying out something new with the microphone here. I'm sort of moving it in and out of frame. I'm trying not to get the mic popping a little bit this episode. Because it's a new mic, so I've been running into some problems in recent episodes. Last time it was like a little too loud. First episode I had with it was popping a little bit too much. So I'm gonna be moving it around a bit. If it's any problem,
it's the off season. It's our off season testing, right?
We don't change much, really. We really don't. We're not out here with Evo upgrades in my setup, at least. Although I will be in a new setup soon. So stay posted for that. When I say soon, it's like a few months away still. And it looks like you got some sort of a standing desk thing going on over there right now.
Oh no, I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting down. This is my normal recording spot, but I got some new equipment that I'm trying to use for to have everything all in one over here, so I don't have to switch back and forth. So
Oh, there you go.
hopefully everything turns out okay tonight. If it
Preview.
doesn't, then whatever.
Preview of what to expect in the videos, I guess. Then when we get those back up, I mean, I'm not one to talk about you making videos. I'm
Just putting the jabs in, eh?
10 months since I've made a video. We'll get on it. I got plans. You're just gonna be patient with it. A few months.
Exactly. Patience is key in the off season or any time,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Anyways, WEC Bahrain. Let's get into it a little bit here. I want to go over a couple of the storylines from this race. Ultimately, I will say, not the greatest race that we've seen at Bahrain. Especially coming off of the race that we had at Fuji, the 6-hour race there a month back. I had higher expectations going into Bahrain this year. Ultimately, especially in the hypercar class, we did have some moments. I'm not going to sit here and say it was an absolute snoozer of a race, but I was expecting a little bit more going into this one, and I don't feel like it delivered quite on that level. But what it was, if nothing else, was a race that was much needed for some of the teams and manufacturers in the WEC that have struggled this season. And no one more than that than Toyota, who going into the race we talked about didn't have any win this season, didn't have a single podium this year. And you and I kind of hyped them up a little bit. They had a very strong streak going on at Bahrain in the past 8 races here and backed that up very early in the weekend in the practice and qualifying sessions. 1-2 in qualifying. You and I picked the 7 and 8 car. You were the 8, right? And I picked the 7.
I don't know.
So I got the win on that one. But it was a race that Toyota needed for sure.
Yeah.
And they were able to capitalize on it. They were able to back it up. And it was the final race that we're going to see in that initial spec GR010 before they go to that Evo spec car for 2026. And backed it up with a 1-2 victory. So I guess it doesn't get a whole lot better for Toyota at Bahrain. They're defending the crown there. That's 9 wins at that race in a row for them. We didn't have a race there in 2020, but they won the 2 races that we had in 2021. And I guess going for the magic number 10 next year. But overall, I think still closing out a season that probably is one they're still mostly going to want to forget.
Oh, yeah. I don't think this result makes this a salvageable season for them. Really, they were largely uncompetitive this entire year, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have a podium heading into the Bahrain weekend, which I know that was one of the storylines that we were hearing heading into the weekend. I can't remember how long it had been since they went, an entire season without a podium. Is it like 2015 or something ridiculous like that? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, 2015.
2015. So the fact that we were even having that discussion coming into this final race was quite surprising. I don't think anyone would have predicted that necessarily at the beginning of the year, but whether it be the magical 3-letter word, whether it be that car is just really suited to this racetrack, they came out and they were the clear far and above favorites from the drop of the green flag on practice 1. Just really strong all weekend. Didn't have any real hiccups in the race at all. And just kind of a very Toyota type weekend that we were used to seeing them pull off for so many years here. And Ferrari showed some pace at various points in the race, but just they're never really enough to even really challenge the Toyotas at all in this one.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm going to correct something because I believe you said the first year Toyota had not gotten a podium. It was the first year they hadn't gotten a win since 2015. It would have been the first season without a podium for them if they didn't in this race.
Okay. Like first
on the
season
top
ever?
Well, in the WEC since they joined in 2012, yes.
Wow. Okay.
On the topic of Ferrari, though, Ferrari did what they needed to do here. They were in a position where they don't care about what happens in the 8 hours of
That's
Bahrain.
true.
They don't need to win this race. They want to win the championship. They want to close out what otherwise has been a pretty flawless year for them. All things considered. If you're a manufacturer going into this championship, there's two things you want to win. You want to win, well, I guess three. You want to win the drivers, the manufacturers, championships, and the 24 hours of Le Mans. Of course, Ferrari already picked up that first one back in June, and they just needed to secure the other two. They weren't taking any big risks here. They weren't having the cars race each other exceptionally hard like they were back in 2023 here at Bahrain. They did what they needed to do, though. And actually, I was pretty impressed at how well they were able to capitalize on the cards that they were given, because their pace wasn't incredible this week. But nonetheless, they were still able to put together a finish that was better than they even needed to achieve to pick up those drivers and manufacturers titles here. So I think it was a good weekend overall for them. Was going to make a note on somebody else, and I completely am blanking on who that was. Is there another, I guess, topic in hypercar you wanted to talk about? Because I do have something else if you don't.
Well, I think the other main talking point across the entire weekend was Porsche, and just the complete lack of pace there the entire weekend. They were in contention for, what was it, just the manufacturers, or did they?
They were pseudo mathematically capable to win both, but
okay, it was a long shot for both, right? Like it was.
Yeah, I mean the manufacturers was a much larger long shot. Drivers was the one that they were at least within a chance of.
But I mean, still coming out, and there was no pace there across the weekend in what may be their last WEC race. We still don't have any confirmation on what could potentially happen there. I remember in the weekend sports cars they had mentioned that the entry deadline is coming up for the WEC, but I think that maybe in a week or two. I think it is. So it is rapidly approaching, but it doesn't sound too great across that front, and just for everything that this program has accomplished in the past 3 years. Not the way that we want to see that car go out, whether it's temporarily, whether it doesn't go out at all, or if it's just the end of the that factory team for now. For Porsche, it was a very disappointing weekend for all three of those cars in hypercar.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up next. I wanted to say it was going to be a fairy tale weekend for manufacturers like Toyota, who got the result that they needed. The one note I was going to make that I forgot about was, believe it or not, Toyota actually finished second in the Manufacturers' Championship, which is incredible considering they were not even in the conversation that we were talking about in the pre-show last week. They weren't really anywhere to even finish second in the championship for the manufacturers. But 1-2 result here. Cadillac didn't have a great showing. Porsche didn't have a good showing. And Ferrari, they weren't going to beat Ferrari anyways. So for them to pick up second in the manufacturers this year, we've given Toyota a lot of harsh critique this year. Again, one way or the other, however you want to look at it, whether it was Toyota's fault, whether they were dealt bad cards this year, it just wasn't a strong season for them. But for them to still finish second in the manufacturers, sort of similar to how they snuck away with the manufacturers title last year, was a big surprise to me. I just wanted to note that going out of this weekend. The other thing I wanted to talk about, though, was sort of the opposite end of that. A fairy tale ending it wasn't here at Bahrain for a couple of teams. You talked about Porsche, of course. That was a big one for a lot of people going in here. They didn't have the pace here this weekend. I think a lot of us knew going in that was going to be the case. And also a rough weekend for the final race in professional competition for Jenson Button in the 38 Toyota Cadillac,
Yep.
finishing 16th down in the order, 2 laps down. Not a great fairy tale ending for his career either.
Picked up a
Yeah,
big penalty. Yeah.
yeah. I
Which
just wanted to
may
make
or
note of
may
that.
not have been a little bit harsh, but regardless,
Yep,
unfortunate for him, and as you said, his last race.
yep. And on the flip side of that, going back to the positives, we'll do a compliment sandwich here for the hypercar manufacturers. I do want to give credit to Aston because I think this race was further reinforcement of the capability that Valkyrie has, especially when all the cards are aligned for that car. I had high hopes on them going into this race. They were strong. We're talking about a different series here, but they were strong at Petit Le Mans, the IMSA finale. They were strong at Fuji, the last WEC race before this. And Alex Barris, in particular, put in a killer stint in the middle of the race. I think he was 4th or 5th on a full course yellow restart, and then got his way up to the lead and started pulling a gap. Ultimately, ended up with a penalty due to a full course yellow infringement, and that sort of set them back the order. Ultimately, Aston also struggled with the tire strategy in this race as well, but the pace was certainly there, and I think if any manufacturer was a challenge to Toyota in this race, it's probably Aston Martin, if you think about it.
Yeah. Aston Martin. I mean, it seems like we've talked about a lot over the course of this season, just how they have improved, how they've impressed, whether it be a WEC race, whether it be an IMSA race, and then in particular the past couple months, how they have continued to slowly climb up the results and turn into, at least in the WEC, on the WEC side, we're consistently talking about Aston Martin or Aston Martins, being in the points, battling for, top fives. And if you're them, I mean, you have to be exiting year one of this program feeling pretty darn good with where everything is standing right now in both championships. Stateside and IMSA, of course, you did have that great result at Petit Le Mans that you get to go into the off season with, and then here in Bahrain, sure, you didn't get the great result for both cars, but if you were telling Aston Martin that they're gonna go out and finish on the lead lap in the last race of the season at Bahrain, and arguably be right there on pace and fighting for it with Toyota, and the likes of Ferrari and everybody like that, then I think that would be a pretty. I think anybody in that program would take that at the beginning of the year. So, at the end of the day, you gotta put your hands together for them, and if they continue to take these strides, going into next season, then I mean, you gotta like their chances of getting up to the top step of the podium at one point or another, or at least being regular competitors for the podium.
Yeah, for a first year program, right? This year for them, I wouldn't expect a whole lot more out of it. I think it was a very strong first showing. Got off to a little bit of a slow start. We didn't see them on the grid at Daytona this year. So we'll see their first 24 outing at Daytona in January. But as things going up against competition that's been on the grid for their third season now, I think a lot of good things have been coming out of that Aston program. I would be pretty surprised if we don't see them pick up a win at some point in either championship next season. I just wanted to give credit to them. We're due. It's been another race. I think it's like the third race in a row between both championships where we've been making a point to compliment Aston Martin. So shout out Heart of Racing on that.
It helps that it sounds so good too.
Well, yes, we're always going to give them credit for that. All right. A couple things I want to talk about in the LMGT3 class. Mainly just the teams that were able to capitalize on, again, what was a mixed bag season for some, but was also a slow start to the season for some others. Particularly talking about Iron Lynx Mercedes. That transition that they were doing from Lamborghini to Mercedes this year started out rough for them. It was sort of similar to what we had seen with the Lexus program at the start of 2024. 61 car, though, able to pick up a second place finish at the end of this race, only behind, of course, the Lexus, who was struggling pretty heavily last year. The 87 car picking up the race win here. So it was actually a Toyota sweep, I guess, if you want to think about it, for the entire weekend across both classes.
Sure, they would have loved to have that at Fuji, but
well, yeah, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Just nice to see Lexus on form, though, in the WEC. We are expecting that new car. I just don't know when. I don't know if they know quite when. Are we going to see it on the grid for next year?
I don't think so. Again, I would encourage everybody to go and listen to, I believe it was this week's the Week in Sports Cars, because they did talk about this on there, and it based on what the chatter in the paddock and everything, it doesn't sound like we're going to be. So yeah, 2027 sounds like for that car, and it, we still haven't seen the road going version of that car released. So you got to think that has to come first before the new car is rolled out. But I mean, disappointing to say the least. Like, this car is probably going to have, this car will probably have seen a full cycle of some of these other GT3s just in the time that's been testing. Like, you had, I don't know, what's a car that came, maybe the Ferrari. I mean, they may have been testing, maybe it wasn't quite that long ago, but 3 years of testing almost for this Toyota / Lexus is a long time. So I think as Mr. Waffles has pointed out in chat, the car better be perfect. You're darn right, it better be perfect, and got to hit the ground running with that car to make up for lost time.
Yeah, a lot of people in chat saying 2027 debut is what to expect there, which is kind of what I was expecting as well. Honestly, we haven't heard a whole lot out of that. What are we calling that? The LFR GT3. Despite the odd on-track running that we see with it. It'll actually be the 10th season, though, of the RCF on track next year. Only matched by the Orica 07, I believe.
Oh, yeah,
on the grid.
True.
So, also debuted in 2017.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I never even thought that the Orica's been around for that long. These are like the seniors in the paddock now. Yeah,
the gentleman drivers driving the gentleman cars.
Yep. Oy.
I will also talk about the championship, of course, in LMGT3, and then I'll go back to Hypercar because I didn't go over the full championships there yet. But talking about weekends where teams did what they had to do, 92 Manthey Porsche didn't need to win this race. They had a pretty healthy margin over the 21 Ferrari and also the 87 Lexus that won. It was really only going to be between the 92 and the 27, though. Or sorry, the 21. Did what they needed to do. They finished fourth here and picked up enough points to win the LMGT3 title by 14 points over the Vista AF Corsa Ferrari. Stronger start of the season for the 92 car. They picked up a race win at, well, of course, 24 Hours of Le Mans. They also won, I believe, it was Imola earlier this year as well. Second half of the season, didn't have any victories, but actually they didn't even have any podiums when I think about it, but still consistent top 10 results. Got the points that they needed to capitalize on the success they had earlier in the year. Back in the Hypercar Championship, already sort of talked about a little bit. Of course, Ferrari won the manufacturers. They dominated the manufacturers title this year at 245 points over 171 for Toyota, who surprisingly pipped Porsche at 165 and Cadillac at 158. And then, of course, in the Drivers' Championship, it was the 50 Ferrari picking up the title over there for the first time. Sorry, not the 50, the 51 picking up the championship for the first time, picking up first championship for that car and the first Le Mans victory back in 2023, followed by the 83 and then the 50. It was a clean sweep for Ferrari in the Drivers' Championships over any of the other manufacturers that we had seen.
Yep, it was a strong year for Ferrari. What can we say? That's about the only way to put it.
We'll keep it simple.
What incredible insight, right?
We're such great analysts. We'll keep it simple. You know what? I don't have a whole lot else to say. If anybody else wants to talk about anything from Bahrain or wants us to discuss anything from Bahrain, feel free to put it in the chat. We are going to talk about the WEC Bahrain rookie test. I'll put rookie in slight quotes because like some of those drivers are not far from rookies.
Veteran test
that took place the following day as well. We did see a lot of drivers running in new machinery for the first time in both the hypercar and LMGT3 classes. I will give a highlight to some of those in a little bit here. Ultimately, though, it was a strong session, morning and afternoon session for the 36 Alpine. Well-known WEC rookie Antonio Felix da Costa was leading the combined results for both of those. Of course, that's where he'll be landing next year, so it was a good start to his full-time seat next season. But again, far from being a WEC rookie. We saw him race the Jota Porsche full-time back in 2023 before taking a couple of seasons off. Fred Makovic was in the car in the morning session when that car went P1 there as well. In the LMGT3 standings, it was an actual rookie in that car. Hadrian David in the 87 Lexus, sort of backing up the race win that they had with that car on Saturday. That car actually ended up having engine issues later in the day. That was the only reported incident that I saw coming out of the Bahrain rookie test. So no big incidents going on, no crashes from any of these drivers, thankfully. Wouldn't really be a good thing to put on your resume if you're a new driver, of course.
Or if you're Antonio Felix da Costa.
Well, yeah, that would be especially disappointing. And as I said, I do want to give a shout to some of the drivers that were in cars for the first time, or at least the first time for that team. This is a pretty long list, so I'll try not to bore you and keep it quick. We had Nick Cassidy, Alex Quinn, and Matthias Besch in the Peugeot 9X8. Of course, a couple of those you'll be seeing in the car next year. Lila Wadu, Oliver Gray, and Alessio Rovera stepping up from the LMGT3 car, racing the 499, or not racing, but testing the 499P. That was actually Lila Wadu's third time testing the 499 there.
Yeah.
She had also tested
at this point.
She had also tested the Toyota back in 2022, I believe. But I think she was P4 in the afternoon session with that car, or in the combined results with that car. No indication on whether she'll actually get the step up to race in that car, but still racing as a Ferrari factory driver. Who knows? Maybe that opportunity will come someday. Not quite new to Cadillac by any means, but new to running for Hertz Team Jota was Ricky Taylor and Jack Aiken. Of course, two drivers that we've seen racing stateside in IMSA for Cadillac for quite a few years now. Both have also raced in the WEC in Cadillacs in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
And Jack Aiken going to be in that car with Jota next year as well. Running a dual IMSA WEC campaign.
Yes, I was just going to note that. You beat me to the punch.
I beat you to it.
We had Dorian Bacalacci, who were more used to seeing race Porsche GT cars in Europe, along with Porsche Super Cup driver Robert de Haan, racing the 99, again, I said racing, testing the 99 Proton 963. Mattia Drudi got to step up from his full-time ride in the Heart of Racing Vantage to racing in the testing in the Heart of Racing Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm. Hey, they're driving race cars in a test. We don't call them test cars, so we'll let you have
fair enough. And finally, Ben Barnicoat, as a Toyota Super GT driver, Sasha Finestras got to test the GR010. In the LMGT3 class, Tom Fleming got to drive the championship-winning Manthey Porsche, the 92 car. We had Nicola Lacorte and Matthias Zagata. Zagazeta driving the Ferrari 296. Here we go. Here's where I get to struggle with names. Logan Sargent and Eric Powell got to test the Mustang. Logan Sargent was a bit of a late call up there. But we can expect to see potentially more along those lines for Sargent in the future. I guess stay tuned for news that might be popping up there. Parker Thompson, Dan Harper, and Anthony McIntosh got to test the WRT BMW M4. We had Michael Porter, Jean-Baptiste Simonauer, and Johannes Zelger, and Marcelo Tomassoni in the Mercedes AMG GT3. Gray Newell, of course, son of Gabe Newell, who is responsible for the Heart of Racing, and we're ever thankful for giving us the Valkyrie. Got to test the Heart of Racing Vantage. He's done some racing over in GT America in a no, it's not TCR, a GT4 Vantage, I believe. Martin Berry got to drive the Lexus as well after driving 4 Mercedes Iron Lynx at Spa and Le Mans this year. We saw Alexander West in the United McLaren. Sally Illich got to drive the TF Sport Corvette, seat that he'll be getting more familiar with in the Asian Le Mans series coming up. And far from a rookie for Aston Martin, but it's been the first time we've seen him in WEC testing in a little while, was Johnny Adam in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin Vantage.
It's a long list.
Gave you a whole list there. Anything that you wanted to talk about that stood out there?
Well, one of the interesting notes here was you mentioned the Parker Thompson, Dan Harper, and Anthony McIntosh trio. Parker Thompson has done some racing, I guess, with Anthony McIntosh. I don't know in what championship, but they've done some racing together. But of course, you might know Parker Thompson a little bit more for his efforts with Vassar Sullivan stateside. And he's going to be stepping back from the Vassar Sullivan program and racing full-time in the WEC next year. So Parker Thompson, a driver who was on the verge of being bumped up a license level, but ends up staying a silver and is a pretty speedy silver to have in the car. So that could be a nice trio to watch as they enter the WEC and try and go for that championship next year.
Yeah, long-time GTD driver, as you mentioned, that you and I are very familiar with over in the IMSA Championship. We know what he's capable of, and I think that's a good signing for them.
It is. Other than that, that was the only one that really stood out to me, of course, other than Logan Sargent driving a Mustang and maybe trying to diversify the eggs that he's putting in various racing baskets or championships. But
that's the way to put it. Yeah.
I mean, could maybe trying to connect there a little bit with Ford and ahead of their future entry. Who knows?
Time will tell.
Is that it?
Alrighty.
For Bahrain? Do we have any questions maybe before we move on from that?
Well, I guess, yeah, we'll start there. Somebody mentioned Milton Valenzuela Jr. said, when you think about it, Ferrari should have won more races in 2024. Their 2025 success was written on the wall. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Ferrari probably should have won Spa last year. Trying to think of other races that stand out as well. I mean, this was the first year that Ferrari from start to finish had the consistency that they needed to win a championship.
Yeah.
Like 2023, nobody was touching Toyota in 2023. It was the first season for all of those manufacturers apart from Toyota. And it really showed. Ferrari picked up a Le Mans victory in 23, which probably was more than they could have even expected. So that's already a win for them. 2024, I would say they wanted to probably contest for the championship more than they were. But again, still picked up a Le Mans victory. You could tell that the final chip on their shoulder was winning those WEC championships, because by the time they won Le Mans this year, that's 3 on the trot. They're undefeated at Le Mans with the 499, but didn't have any championship hardware to show with it. And while I personally will always believe that a Le Mans victory weighs a lot more than a WEC championship, I do understand the importance for the manufacturers to sort of seal the hat trick there of 2 titles in the Le Mans victory. And now they've done it. So I guess what's reassuring from Ferrari, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on, is that they're not saying we've done what we needed to do and see you later, because they have committed that program through the end of the 2029 season, which is, in my opinion, great to see. I know some people are frustrated at Ferrari's success in the WEC, but if you'd ever told me that there would be a day where we would be complaining about Ferrari in the hypercar class, I would have had some choice words for you.
Yeah. No, yeah. Great season by Ferrari, and even better to see that they're not doing the whole, we've pretty well won it all, let's go and explore other racing pastures, showing that extra commitment for the next few years. And I guess it's hard to quit when you just keep winning one of the biggest races in the world, right? So yeah.
Why not just keep the streak alive? If you have a 100% winning streak, although I guess maybe that makes it easier to just pull the ripcord now and say,
well, we never lost with this car at Le Mans, guys. So.
That's true. All right. Well, I'll bring this back to some of those things later on if anybody has any questions about Bahrain, but I do want to move forward right now to some IMSA stuff. Of course, we had a weekend of on-track testing in Daytona for IMSA. The final official on-track running that we'll be seeing until the Roar, which is about 2 months away. A lot of new cars to see in the GTP class, although no new manufacturers. We have a lot of upgrades on the cars that we do have. In fact, every manufacturer, barring Aston Martin, had upgrades on their car this weekend. All 4 of them we had already known about, I believe, although we didn't see any of those changes for the most part. We saw BMW's new car testing back in the late summer. But everybody else, I believe, this was the first time we saw that car or their cars on track.
Did we see the new Porsche in a race at Spa? Did they race?
In a race at Spa?
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought they had one car in a race at Spa, but maybe I swear they did, but maybe I'm losing my mind.
We're talking about the 963 here?
No, not the 963.
I was like,
the GT car.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically about GTP right now.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to the GT cars in a little bit here. Yeah, Porsche wasn't testing their new aero on the car at Road Atlanta during that test that they had before Petit, which is what I thought you were going for with that.
And none of these manufacturers had these applied at the Bahrain test, I don't think either, right? I don't think BMW had the new nose. No,
because those were just open the garage doors up again and take the cars you had out on Saturday.
Yeah.
So mostly aero changes to go over here. I will go over the changes that we saw for those 4 cars. Acura, very minimal changes on the Acura. In fact, of the 4 manufacturers, probably the least amount of changes. They only have slightly redesigned dive planes on the front and rear wheel covers, which are a little bit redesigned on the back as well. BMW, we've already talked about before, but they do have that new nose section with the smaller kidney grills. They also have a redesigned splitter and headlights. Cadillac was actually really interesting to me because they were probably the more radically redesigned than I was expecting. They have an updated nose, no dive plane or winglets on the front anymore. So going for a bit of a more low drag option, it seems. They also, keeping in line with that, have not a very low profile rear wing. I mean, we're not talking no wing 9X8 here, but lower profile than we're used to seeing on GTP cars, and also some changes to the rear wheel covers as well. Cadillac also switched over to Brembo brake calipers now, so now they're full Brembo caliper and rotors on that car. In fact, I might have written that down wrong. It might have been the rotors that they switched instead of the calipers, but I'm not sure. I'd have
Regardless.
to look at that. Regardless, they're caliper and rotor Brembo now. Porsche had updated the aero on the front, rear, and engine cover as well. They have a redesigned splitter and diffuser being the highlight changes there. Although, interestingly, only Porsche Penske had tested the changes on that car at Daytona this weekend. JDC was running the 2025 spec car.
I guess that kind of makes sense. They
Yeah.
probably the way that they I guess they clearly just don't have the parts to give out yet.
Well, and it's also, I don't know if it was in their intention, but it's nice to benchmark those changes alongside the current car.
Because Matt Campbell I don't know how many laps Matt Campbell turned in the 85, but he did turn laps in the 85. I think apparently this is something that they've done before as a baseline for JDC to just kind of get a bit of a baseline and then at the beginning of a test. So Matt Campbell did 14 laps, so not too many, but he still did dip into both the new and the old car.
Right. Want to get some of your thoughts, though, on some of the new updates that we've seen on these cars. I guess particularly the Cadillac, because that's the one that's changed the most and was the biggest surprise to me.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is you think about like none of those little winglets or, those dive planes kind of on the front of the car. I mean, we think about how often we see cars come into the pits. Maybe more so in IMSA, although there hasn't been a lack of beating and banging with Cadillacs in the WEC either. But I wonder if that, if you can have more of the aero that those winglets are creating in more permanent, maybe more durable parts of the nose or other aerodynamic features of the car, that I think that's something that makes sense as a trade-off. But then you also you combine that with kind of the lower profile rear wing, and first thing that came to my mind with that is, well, that should help them at Daytona and at Le Mans, right? Two of the biggest races that they're competing in every year. Of course, both tracks where top speed and you're running full out for a significant portion of all of those laps, and if you can get just a little bit more low profile, and even if you do give up a little bit in the corners as a result, that could be something that really benefits them at tracks like that. So of course we're going to see how that plays out for them at the Rolex before we see it play out for them at Le Mans. But first thing that pops into my mind is this going to be something, when we roll into January, is Cadillac going to have a nice little bump up at some of these higher speed tracks?
So here's what's interesting about it to me is the whole philosophy behind the current prototype regs is really getting your car within these performance parameters.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have a certain drag coefficient, you have a certain aerodynamic coefficient that you can hit. And so to me, what it seems like a lot of these manufacturers are trying to do, and this is largely what the whole ethos behind the original 9X8 was being able to get within those parameters while absolutely minimizing overbody downforce as much as you could. Really making use of the floor of the car, the diffuser, the splitter, and trying to hit those aerodynamic numbers without adding additional drag to your car. That seems to be what a lot of these changes across the board are. More, I guess, Cadillac than anybody else. Maybe just because we can see the changes with Cadillac a lot more. The rear wing also was sculpted a little bit more than it is currently. The rear wing on that car right now is a pretty flat plane across the back. And if you had a chance to look at pictures here, which I don't have, I saw there's a thing in the chat asking if I had pictures. Sorry, I don't for this episode. It's in the thumbnail though, but it doesn't show the rear wing in the thumbnail. If you do find a picture though, just check IMSA social media, is probably on there. Yeah. Take a look.
Or Lanky Turtle has a video, so you might be able to see some of it there.
Of course he does. Take a look at the rear wing, though. It's quite a bit different than what we've seen on that car the past 3 seasons. That's the impression I have, is all of these manufacturers are trying to hit those coefficient numbers while maximizing underbody downforce. So again, if, like you said, if you're able to do that and you're able to get that car into that window, it is going to be an advantage for you at these lower downforce tracks like Daytona, like Le Mans. Now, of course, the thing that's hanging over all of it is you are going to have BOP bringing you in line there.
Yeah.
And that's why we didn't see the 9X8 blow the doors off everybody at Le Mans in 2023.
Yep.
Or even tracks like Monza. So it's a bit of an interesting philosophy, but I get the impression that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting here as well that Porsche is now on their 4th Joker upgrade, meaning that they only have one left by the end of 2027, I believe, which is more than any other manufacturer in the class right now. I think Acura just took their first one for this year. Acura has made very minor upgrades.
Did they take one at the beginning of the year this year, or maybe it was just BMW and Cadillac that did the beginning of this year? Yeah, I think that might have been it.
Yeah, Cadillac took their first last year. BMW had their upgrades last year. I don't think Acura has. I want to say this is Acura's first upgrades, and for their upgrades to be very minor on this car, says a good amount about how comfortable they are with that car already.
I mean, they've won races, for some pretty big races every year. I mean, we think about that first year and how, they very well could have won that championship. They got back and had some more strong results again last year. So, I think if you're accurate, I mean, why fix what's not broken, right? They've been consistently strong through the years.
Yeah, and maybe that's the philosophy that Aston's adopting for the first season. Sure. We don't see any upgrades on that car yet.
Which makes sense, too. Back when we had this big influx of these first ones, I mean, who did we see make upgrades after the first year? Did we see maybe Porsche? Was that?
Yeah.
They did the front suspension this year, but I don't remember what they did at the end of the first year.
Yeah, I can't remember specifically.
Yeah, you didn't see too many people making, big sweeping changes because they're still learning a lot about the car.
Right. And for a lot of those manufacturers, they were locked into what at the time was, I guess, a 5-year homologation cycle.
True.
Now it's been extended. So it's all a bit of a gray area. There are additional, and of course the regulations are different between the WEC and IMSA as well, but there are additional jokers that can be granted now if deemed necessary over in the WEC. I guess IMSA hasn't confirmed if that's going to be a thing. I don't think they have confirmed if that's going to be a thing.
I assume that would be part of, that would be the same both ways, though, because I don't think that they would want to have 2 different versions of cars running in 2 different championships.
Yeah, I mean, it would almost have to be.
Yeah.
But I guess IMSA, I don't think IMSA's confirmed it.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. There's a thing in the chat saying, are jokers mandatory? No, they're not mandatory. Although manufacturers do seem to take them pretty frequently to make minor upgrades. The Michelin spec tires, of course, also on the GTP cars were also another thing for the test here at Daytona. This was the first IMSA testing, I believe, we've seen with those 2026 tires on the car. Those debuted back, not on track debuted, but we saw an introduction of those tires at Le Mans this year. And those will be running in both championships for next season.
Funky looking things.
Yeah. The pattern on those is interesting. We'll spend some time talking about the GTD classes as well, the 2 GTD classes, because we got some stuff that's new there, some stuff we were wrong about, of course. I guess most notably the Lamborghini Temerario GT3. This was the first track testing that we saw, official track testing that we saw with that car in the hands of FAF. Interestingly running a Lamborghini like pseudo factory livery on that car, which we historically haven't seen Pfaff doing when they've been running that car. So I don't know if that's something that's going to be carried on to their official livery for next year or not. Might just be part of the testing program that they're running right now. That car is not going to be on track for the Rolex 24. We already talked about that before. It will be making its expected global debut in the 12 Hours of Sebring. Sort of similar to what we've seen with some of these GTP cars past couple of years as well. They'll be running the Hurricane now at Daytona. The Hurricane Evo 2.
It will be a plaid. It will be a plaid car at Daytona for sure. They confirmed that on their social media last week, which much to the relief of everyone.
Yes.
They can't go full factory livery and not have a little bit.
Well, with McLaren they did sort of McLaren they did the hybrid factory colors but kept the plaid in there.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. We'll see.
Make it work.
Talking of things that we were incorrect about, we also had on-track running.
This is a trilogy of things we're incorrect about, but
we had on-track running from I almost said BMW Team RLL. RLL Team McLaren in the GTD Pro class, who announced that program the day after we did our show last time. And you and I felt, I guess, pretty confident in saying, or I guess we maybe felt smart in saying, that with Marvin Kirchhofer signed to Corvette for 2026 in the endurance program, that wouldn't really make sense to see a McLaren on the grid in GTD Pro, even though it was rumored around Petit Le Mans this year. Sure enough, next day rolls around. You get confirmation of that Rahal program, which will be full season next year. I'm still surprised about it. I got to sit here with my hands up and say I'm surprised that McLaren has a factory driver, at least a driver we're still expecting to be a McLaren factory driver next year, competing against McLaren in the GTD Pro class. But I guess we can't complain that we're going to see Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan on the grid in IMSA still. It's nice that we didn't have to see them take a year off. Of course, they lost that BMW GTP program this year. And we'll still be seeing them sort of back to their roots, I guess, in pro GT competition in IMSA.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see the McLaren back. And, genuinely hope that we will see some stronger results for them than we saw, the last season that it competed in, which was largely uncompetitive in both the GTD and GTD Pro class. So, hopefully this is, a means for McLaren to get that car back to a competitive state with a program that has, had success with running GT cars. So, good to see the McLaren back.
Yep.
Even if it's not with Marvin Kirchhofer, and that's odd. Yeah.
Yeah. In the car for that test, though, we had Dean McDonald, also McLaren GT factory driver Yuri Vips and Max Esterson, who are affiliated with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, typically over in open wheel stuff. But nice link to jump over here and get some racing in some pro sports cars. Also in the Daytona testing, we had the first official on-track sessions for a couple of other teams. Brian Herta Autosport with PR1 and Intersport in LMP2. We saw Windward Racing in GTD Pro. Now, I texted you before the show, and I said, what? Because, I don't remember seeing anything about Windward going to GTD Pro. Am I insane? Was this announced at any point? And you seem to say the same thing.
Yeah, when you messaged me that, you saw the entry list come out and you're like, oh, Windward has a GTD Pro entry. That's weird. They must just be maybe testing for somebody, or was there something that they haven't announced yet? And I asked ChatGPT to go back and scour the internet to see where this was mentioned, and all that I could get was the pre-entry list for for the test, where in a Sports Car 365 article where they mentioned that Windward will be racing at both Daytona and Sebring next year in the with a pro effort car. So, which is interesting, because we've seen Mercedes throw their support behind, maybe a one-off Mercedes entry in GTD Pro, but not necessarily the first couple of races of the season. So I wonder if those first couple of races go well, could we see that entry be extended, or with some of the other news that we've heard now come out, I think today or the last couple of days in the test, with maybe there's a couple more GTD Pro or GTD grid slots open than we initially thought. Could that potentially turn into a maybe longer than just the first two races? I would sure hope so, but I think this is something that a lot of people have been wanting to see for a number of years now, is Windward put forth an entry in GTD Pro. And even if this is just for the first couple of races of the year, that they're going to be competitive. They know how to win. Mercedes is a great stable of drivers to fall back on. And yeah, I mean, they were quick in the test. I mean, it's just practice. We're talking about practice here, but yeah, Mercedes and Windward. There's going to be a few Mercedes now, I guess, on the GT Pro grid for the Rolex.
Yeah, we're not even talking about practice. We're talking about November testing. If you are Mercedes, is there really a better team to call up than Windward if you want to have a strong showing in GTD Pro based on their GTD results the past couple of years?
And their
probably
worldwide results as well.
Right.
You'd be hard pressed to find one. So
right. So it makes total sense. It's just a complete surprise because we didn't see it anywhere, and you and I can miss things as we have before. Yep. But this one really slipped through the cracks quite a bit.
Yeah.
We also got to see in GTD Pro the first IMSA testing for Manthey with their 911 GT. What is this? The 911 GT3R.
911 GT3R Type 992.
There we go. There's the government name. Expect to see them. I at least expect to see them as a strong showing. Even though we'll only be seeing now, they are a full MEC entry next year, right? Or is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
They are.
It's not just Daytona. But I would expect to see them be pretty competitive in the Endurance Cup next year, being that team running the car in the WEC. And down in the GTD class, we saw, again, first official running from RS1 and Myers Riley Motorsport in their new Ford Mustang.
I do believe that the Ford had an Evo applied to it as well, or there may have been some tweaks done to that car. I thought I saw that in an article, but
yeah, I think that was planned for 26.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it may have not been a full Evo though, because it does have the car listed without an Evo spec. So maybe that's just maybe it's, is it a full on Evo? Andrew's saying
Andrew
Ford
says
has
it is
an Evo. So Andrew is going to be going up against the Fords next year. So I would trust him to know.
Sure. Well, since we're only talking about, go ahead.
Oh wait, I forgot it already. I was gonna say something when.
You got a short attention span here.
Yeah, what was it? Oh, because I've been seeing a bunch of comments about Random Vandals in in the chat, and Random Vandals is not going to be on the IMSA grid next year. Based on, I don't know, I saw a couple of notes about it today, but no Random Vandals. Maybe I think I saw that they're hoping to be on for maybe a petite entry. Yeah. But unfortunately no Random Vandals on the grid. So that really brings questions of, could we see Paul Miller Racing have another, go back to a 2-car program, or are we only going to see one BMW on the GTD Pro grid? Because I don't believe that there's been any others confirmed. So that's, it's a bit of a a shocking piece of news. After the last couple of months, we've heard that Random Vandals is for sure going to be on the grid next year, and it's just a matter of how many cars at that point. So unfortunate news, but hopefully they'll be able to have that program together at least for the end of next year, and be able to be on the grid full time in 2027.
Yeah, and they will be continuing their commitments in GT America as well for next year. So
yeah,
not like they're going to be a complete lost presence.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah, so they're not going to be without a place on any grid. So
yeah. And just to say I did it, because it doesn't matter, and it's not even practice. We're talking about testing. I'll just say who was fastest in all 4 of the classes. It was the 93 Acura in the GTP class, driven by Nick Yellowly. In LMP2, it was the 11 TDS Orca, driven by Charles Malasey. In GTD Pro, it was the Windward Racing 48, driven by Maxime Martin. Actually, Mercedes was pretty strong across the board there.
Yeah.
Even with the 75 Express team, was also racing in the Michelin Endurance Cup in the top 3 as well. Also a strong showing for Dean McDonald in the McLaren as well. But again, we're talking about testing. Doesn't matter. And in GTD, it was also Windward Racing with the 57 car there in the top 2 with Lucas Auer and Philip Ellis. Again, in the Mercedes GT3. Any other comments that you had from testing? I think there were some more things in the chat that people were asking about it. We can jump into that in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the only other real notes that I had coming out of testing, again, I know it's testing. You can take it with an absolute grain of salt. Like, all of these programs have different objectives that they're trying to go for, but Nico Pino was second fastest across the week in
the
GTP.
old Porsche.
Yeah, in the 85 JDC car, the non upgraded one. So could we see Nico in a full season ride with them next year? That is a possibility, but yeah, I mean, a guy that we've been familiar with both here in IMSA as well as in the WEC. I believe he's run, well, maybe has he run at the WEC? I know he's running some LMP2 stuff, but that's just at Le Mans, so maybe not so much in the WEC. But Nico Pino, solid driver there too, with a solid effort. And if you look towards the to 11th overall in GTP, we see one of the drivers that has been a bit of a throwback for everybody.
Yes.
AJ Allmendinger jumping back into a top flight prototype with Meyer Shank. He's going to be doing the Rolex 24, 11th fastest. And there were 35 drivers that set a time there. So, good for AJ. Again, it's testing, so take it all with a grain of salt. But yeah, some a couple that stood out to me there.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if AJ was announced before our last episode. It was, though. I do remember talking about him in the last show. It's just a fun entry to see back in the GTP class for the first time for AJ. And I'm not going to look into testing times, but he's jumping into what is an extremely strong team with racing wins at Daytona already, and sort of thrown into the deep end, I guess, as you will.
Yeah. And we also got to see the debut of driving in a GTP for Connor Zilic as well.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
After he was robbed at Bahrain.
After he got robbed of that friend of the show, Connor Zilic.
Yes.
After he was robbed of not getting to do that WEC test, he got to jump into the 31 Wheelin car and did 81 laps behind the wheel there ahead of a possible Rolex 24 effort with them. We will have to wait and see.
Yeah. Although it sounds like we can expect that.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. I think that would make a lot of people very happy. Is it question time?
It is question time for now. Well, actually, let's just kill this story because it's going to take 2 minutes. I teased it earlier on. The Ferrari 499P in the WEC was officially confirmed during the Bahrain weekend to be committed until at least the end of the 2029 season. That was confirmed by Antonello Coletta, who is the global head of endurance for Ferrari Motorsport. This is something that I guess we were already expecting. Ferrari sort of hinted before that they intend to stick with this class. So it didn't really come as a big surprise to me. But again, as we said earlier, just nice to see that they are sticking with this program, despite the fact that, I guess when you think about it, they have all the boxes checked that they could have possibly wanted with that car.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're holding out for a victory at the 8 Hours of Bahrain, but.
Well, I mean, we clearly know that's the trophy that everybody wants, right? Like,
sure.
that might be the most elusive trophy in sports car racing, right?
Are you really a successful program if you don't have that? I don't know.
Exactly. We'll see. I mean, man, could anybody bump Toyota from the 8 Hours of Bahrain? We only have to wait like 360 days to find out.
Yes. Yeah. I'm on the edge of my seat with anticipation on that.
You know who's going to do it? Lamborghini.
Yes. Hey, did you see the news story before we get into some questions that there's all the joking that we do about Lamborghini running in the Asian Le Mans series? There's apparently going to be a wingless spec 9X8 racing in the Asian Le Mans series, run by BBM Sport, who also is the same team that runs the Peugeot 908s in the Historics races. So that could be a lot of fun.
Just put in the anything is possible. Was that from was that when the Celtics won? I think you're close enough to Boston.
This sucks because I am a Boston sports guy, but like of Boston sports I watch, the Celtics are probably like the least. Like I don't watch the Celtics a whole lot, even though they won the championship a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know on that one.
Anything is possible with this Lamborghini, right?
Yes.
If they can run a wingless 9X8, then hey.
Well, what about things that are actually possible? Because I'm thinking now, and we're getting sidetracked as we do, but if that car wins the Asian Le Mans Series championship in the hypercar class, in theory, they're slated to get an auto invite for Le Mans.
I think it got confirmed that the winner of the hypercar class there will not get an invite.
Oh, is that that's?
I thought I heard it mentioned that they will absolutely not get an invite. So
that's just lame then, because if that was going to be the way that we get a wingless 908 or not 908 9X8 on the grid at Le Mans again, then that's what I was going to watch for.
Or imagine Porsche has a factory effort in the Asian Le Mans series, and no, I think the reason why they won't do it is because there's a bronze driver mandate in the Asian Le Mans series, and there's no bronze allowed. And
well, I guess that makes sense.
But that's a ridiculous excuse. Give them an exemption. I mean, let them race at Le Mans. It's just going to attract more entries to the Asian Le Mans series, and is that a bad thing?
Well, the other thing that's complicated about it is if they win the championship, like we've joked before about how Lamborghini can't just race at Le Mans.
Yeah.
If they won the Asian Le Mans series because the car doesn't race the full WEC, and I guess neither would the wingless 9X8, so it's not. Yeah. I guess in that sense, it also wouldn't be eligible.
Too much red tape, man. Just tear all the red tape down and let these suckers race. Put them in the was it the Garage 56? Put them in as that.
But yeah,
not really innovative technology, but it is a blast.
Not quite.
From a couple of years ago.
Neither was a Camaro though. It's just fun.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just the fun entry.
Let's have some fun.
Anyways, let's have some fun. Let's answer some questions, and then we'll get this episode out the door. Let's see if I had
a recent one that we can talk about while you're looking for a question. It was confirmed as well. Dragon Speed switching to Corvette. Man, that thing's gonna look sick.
Yep.
You already know it. It looked great as a Ferrari last year. Gonna look pretty darn good as in Corvette, not colors, but on a Corvette next year.
You joined the dark side.
Yeah, yeah, they're going from they're yeah.
Chasing the
Talk about a
Corvette in the
jump.
championship to switching to him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of funny. If you can't beat them, join them, right?
Oh, well, there you go. Andrew said Acura did take a Joker before 2025. Thank you,
Okay.
our fact checker in the chat.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember that.
It couldn't have been anything big. Had to be something small. Like when Porsche took that Joker to like, what was it, like wiring harnesses and stuff? Something along those lines. And then it bit them at Indy.
Yep.
Getting off track.
Yeah. Somebody's talking about Marvin Kirchhofer. How did he get the Corvette seat in the MEC next year? Well, as you mentioned, he was in part of that AWA winning lineup in the Corvette and GTD this year. So he doesn't need to really prove himself to Pratt Miller Motorsports and to what he's capable of doing in a Corvette GT3 car. I guess the nuance behind it still to me is just the whole McLaren deal. And I will be confused about that until somebody in the paddock can get me an answer on it.
Yeah.
Because that's the real...
Unless if there's just something that hasn't been announced yet. Like
that's possible, but I would have
usually
expected
these
that would get announced
contracts
before.
He would think that they would, but I don't know. That's the only thing in my head that makes sense, right? Because although yeah, no, it's the only thing that makes sense. So I don't know, but things don't always make sense to us either, so
Well, they very rarely do.
yeah. Yeah.
Any updates on Proton being back with their 963? Don't have high hopes, I guess is what I'll say to keep it short. It's very interesting, this Porsche story right now for 2026 in the WEC, because I've seen an equal, well, maybe not an equal, but I've seen reputable people saying it ain't going to happen. And I've seen reputable people saying, well, it could happen, and this is what would need to happen for it to work. Specifically on that latter one, talking about the race, put out an article. I believe it was Thibaut Villemont, who's a very reputable French journalist, often gets the scoop on WEC stuff before it happens, who put out that story. And the gist of it is basically Proton runs a car, and then either Penske supports Proton in running a second car, or Penske runs a second car. But Jonathan Duguid told Sports Car 365 that Porsche's not going to run a car next year in the WEC. So that Penske's not going to run a car. And then Porsche said, well, if they do run a car, then we'll support it in whatever way we can. But like, it's not going to be a factory program. There is uncertainty still for 2026, and I guess I could see it going either way, but if I'm a betting man, I would say probably don't expect to see either one of those cars on the grid for next year, unfortunately.
I don't know. There's so much that's going around. There's negativity from some, and then there's negativity on people being negative from others, and I just wish that somebody would come out and say it. somebody from Porsche, please just tell us what's going to happen actually, and so we can put it all to rest.
Well, Porsche doesn't even know. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, that's true. They're still trying to figure stuff out by the sounds of it, trying to make something work.
I don't see any additional question. I mean, Marvin Kirchhofer just asking about his CV as a driver.
Yeah, I'm looking on his Wikipedia page right now.
Oh, well, then you can take it. If you've got the Wikipedia pulled up, then forget it. You got more knowledge than I do.
I mean, he's had a lot of success over the years, that's for sure. Of course, we know him as being a McLaren factory driver more recently. In the chat, we had he had pole at spot 24. We know he won the Rolex 24 as the fourth driver for AWA this year. He's been around in the sports car world here, and
Race with Faf in 24.
oh yeah, he was with Faf in 24, so he didn't have any success that season, that's for sure. Done a little bit, some one-offs with some other teams, but yeah, lots of like GT World Challenge stuff for him, and looks, dating back, done some, GT Masters back in the day, but that was before he really joined McLaren. So yeah, Marvin, of course, a decorated driver, kind of definitely a veteran, I would say, of the sports car grid. So yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see if there's any more news that comes out about him, because yeah, he's been with McLaren for many years, but that doesn't mean that things can't change. So
how's the Porsche Evo going to perform? Your guess is as good as mine. Of course, they're down to just IMSA next year, but if anything from recent years is to indicate, they're going to be just fine. It is interesting that they put an Evo kit on that car. Are
they talking about the GTP or the GT car?
Well, I'm going to assume we're talking about the GTP.
We can comment on both, though.
Yeah. Well, I would have pretty much the same story for both, but in particular the GTP. We're talking about relatively minor upgrades here. And any upgrade you put on the car is not going to be exempt from the overlord that is balance of performance. But that being said, Porsche already has a very strong baseline with that car. So while it was, I don't want to say it was surprising to see upgrades on that car, it's just noteworthy because it's not racing in the WEC. And I guess even their IMSA future is a little bit uncertain, because we know right now Porsche and Penske are just filling out a contract right now, and that's why we're seeing a continuation. That's one of the main reasons we're seeing a continuation of that program in IMSA. I really, based on everything I've seen recently, don't think Porsche has the longevity with that 963 program, at least in a factory sense, that Ferrari has committed to with the WEC. Like, I don't see a scenario where the 963 is going to be racing with Penske in 2029. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked there. To answer your question, though, no, I don't. I think Porsche is going to do just fine in the championship next year. And as Andrew said, the Evos won't necessarily affect the overall performance of the car. A lot of them are more just optimizing the drivability of the car, keeping the car in a performance window that's going to be consistent from track to track. That's really what the Evo upgrades on these cars are all about.
Yeah, I think depends on how big the Evo upgrade is too, and while it won't necessarily affect the top end speed, and it is a BOP series, but it can sometimes take teams a little while to get their heads wrapped around and understand what these changes to the car really do. We've seen many recent examples where Evos are introduced, and the cars maybe struggle isn't the right word, but there's a bit of a lag. Maybe the first half of the season or so, they look a little bit off, compared to where they may have been the previous season. But then kind of on the flip side of that, I think that BMW, they brought an Evo at the beginning of this season. And I think that in particular with Paul Miller Racing, we saw a lot of strong runs from them right off the bat with an Evo cars, with the Evo upgrades on that BMW. So I think there's I think, as you said, I think definitely expect Porsche to be strong, but maybe don't be surprised as well if we see a couple of races that are just a little bit off, or a little bit off what we might expect from them in the early going.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? You think that's enough for a show?
Greg says, will we ever see a new Lexus Toyota GT3? We talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. It's
Yes.
yikes.
Yeah.
Maybe,
You'll.
maybe not.
I guess you'll see it in 2027 now. I would have expected until not long ago that you would have seen it next year. I think that was the
Yep.
plan, but see you in a year.
Yeah, if it wasn't on track at Daytona this weekend testing, then we're not going to see it at IMSA next year. So yeah, unless if there's another test where they can get that performance testing done, but I don't see that as a possibility right now.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's a chance that we see it in the global GT racing scene at some point
Yeah,
next year, like maybe towards the end of the next year.
yeah,
But we'll have to see on that. It'll be after GTA 6. Oh,
yeah.
that's which comes first.
Oh man, I mean, GTA keeps delaying that game too, so it's kind of a race between Rockstar and Toyota, isn't it? The race within a race.
A couple more questions that came in. So I guess I'll answer those before we wrap things up. Do you think Ferrari is committing to 2020? Do you think as Ferrari is committing to 2029, do you think they will send a privateer run team in IMSA?
I don't think that they would send one. I
Yeah.
think somebody would have to fork over a lot of money.
Is there going to be a customer entry? Really, is the question that you're
Yeah.
asking. Um, Ferrari is very strict about letting customers run that car. Like I know we have the quote customer, AF Corsa 83, but look who's running that car. So I would have loved to seen. Again, these are pipe dream things. There's nothing behind this, but like a Dragon Speed 499P would be really fun in IMSA, even if it was
Mhm.
just for the Rolex. But I
Greasy.
really am. I'm more pessimistic than I am optimistic about seeing a privateer. I certainly don't think the announcement of Ferrari committing to the end of 2029 in the WEC has any sway on that decision. Um, but I guess it leaves the possibility open a little bit longer. So
Yeah,
if
that's
somebody
fair.
if somebody can fork over the cash and convince Ferrari, then possibly. But I think convincing Ferrari and being a legitimate contender is what you're going to need there. And Ferrari, in that sense, is sort of in the same boat as Toyota.
Yep. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. Nah. It's. I'm not gonna wonder that. Yeah. I'm not. I'm not confident on Ferrari coming. But I mean, with the right amount of money, anything could happen, right?
Well, yeah, but who has the right amount of money? And that's
Well, not
that's the
us
$1 million
yet,
question.
but we'll have it soon, right?
Sure, sure.
Our world's
I thought
takeover.
what happened to our Lamborghini program?
Well,
We're
listen.
switching teams.
I mean, we got to start somewhere, right? That's like chapter one of our movie.
So are we starting with Lamborghini or are we starting with Ferrari?
Yeah, we're starting with Lamborghini. We're starting with
Okay,
Lamborghini. Yeah.
okay,
And we do such a good job that Ferrari's like, yes, we will let you bring
yes.
a 499p to the Rolex.
Sounds like a plan.
We level up in
Um,
Italian.
yep. How about the Ferrari GT3 Evo, the 296? Um, we don't have a 296 GT3 Evo for next year, right?
I don't think so. There's a lot
So
of
I,
Evos, but I don't think that's one of them, is it?
not to my knowledge. And that car debuted what, the start of 2024?
Or was it 23?
Was it 23?
Because
See, here's the
oh
problem.
no, maybe it was no, maybe
I know I was there for its IMSA debut at Daytona, but I
yeah,
don't know if it was 23 or 24
it was
because those were the
23
2
because it
years
was
I
when
went.
the Huracan Evo 2 debuted as well, and they were both garbage. I mean, they were awful.
Well, sure, sure.
But
Okay.
Mr. Waffles, is the Evo coming next year? I know there's a boatload of Evos that are being released GT wise next year, so
Yeah,
maybe
well,
I'm
Porsche has their every third year
yeah.
Evo car coming out.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is one of the like 3 or 4 Evos that are coming this year, so that would make sense.
Oh, so Ferrari does have an Evo coming? Is that what we're
I
saying?
think so. I think so.
I haven't been up to date on my Evos on who's coming in GT3 for 2027 or sorry, 2026. especially 2027.
Between the Evos that are coming, and then you have the new Lamborghini, and you have McLaren rejoining the IMSA grid. I don't know. My brain's all over the place today. So, what else is new, though? What else is new?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good enough place to leave it for now. Being in the off season now, we finally will have time to discuss some of the more pressing topics. Like if we get any confirmation of how the balancing is going to be handled in the WEC next year, then I can have some fun going on about that. We, of course, coming up in about a month and a half, we'll do our end of the year show. We'll be talking about some of our favorite moments from the season and hope to see you around for some of that stuff. But in the meantime, I'm going to be out to Vegas. It's probably going to be cold. It's my first time going that far out west. I've been to France and Germany, but I've never been west of Wisconsin.
Oh.
And that'll be a lot of fun for me. But for the two of us, I guess you'll catch us in a couple weeks, and we'll be back to talk about some off-season fun stuff, some more entry list stuff coming out soon. And as we said at the start, it's a short one in the off-season for us. We'll be back on track in 2 months for Daytona roar testing.
Oof. It's wild.
Yeah.
2 months, they'll be on testing.
I'm gonna count down those 8 weeks you got until January when you got to make 18 videos on.
I'm already feeling anxious about it. So.
Yeah. Someone said, please make a 2-hour episode. We have 2-hour episodes. We're not going to do it tonight. We'll save it for a day. We got a ton to talk about, which might be sometime soon. We'll see. Anyways, closing thoughts from you.
Officially the off season, but there is no off season for us. We'll look out. Hashtag stay tuned, right? Stay tuned.
Sure.
Can't wait to see what big announcement is released tomorrow.
Yes.
After the show. So.
Yes. Of course.
We don't even know what that's going to be yet, but it's going to be something.
Whatever it will be. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about it and more, and I hope to see you all there. Take care.